What if the most powerful weapons of the 20th century weren't built by governments, but by a single company? A company that created spy planes that flew higher than missiles, stealth jets that disappeared from radar, and technology so advanced it looked like science fiction. A company that turned secret hangars into laboratories of the future, rewriting the rules of war and maybe even of humanity itself. This isn't just a defense contractor. This is Lockheed Martin. And their story is filled with genius, danger, and secrets the world was never supposed to know.
Lockheed Martin. The name alone makes aviation enthusiasts and defense nerds sit up straight. To most people, it's just a massive corporation making fighter jets, satellites, and secret projects. But the story of this giant began with a wooden boat that could fly. 1912, Santa Barbara, California. Two brothers, Alan and Malcolm Lockheed, decided to build their first seaplane in a small workshop. Plywood, nails, glue, and an unshakable desire to conquer the skies. The plane could take off, glide, and land on water. A small miracle for the time. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't sleek, but it worked. And that little garage project would lay the foundation for a technological empire that would one day dominate the skies. But the road to greatness was anything but smooth. The company closed and restarted multiple times because of funding issues. Each restart was practically a gamble with the brothers' life savings. But they didn't quit, not once. Persistence was in their DNA. Then came the 1930s. The world was gearing up for war, and airplanes were no longer toys for the rich. They were becoming essential tools of power. Lockheed struck gold with the Model 10 Electra in 1934. Sleek, all-metal, twin-engine, and fast, Amelia Earhart flew one on her attempt to circle the globe, giving the aircraft a legendary status. Suddenly, Lockheed wasn't just building planes, it was building dreams. But the real breakthrough came with the P-38 Lightning, designed by the genius engineer Kelly Johnson. Two long fuselages, joined by a wing in the middle, and the cockpit perfectly centered. It looked like an alien spaceship. And in combat, it was just as otherworldly. The P-38 became one of the deadliest fighters of World War II. It was on this plane that American pilots shot down Admiral Yamamoto, the mastermind behind Pearl Harbor. One small step for Lockheed, one giant leap for American air power. And while the company was conquering the skies, the most daring projects were quietly brewing in a small, almost invisible workshop in Burbank. Kelly Johnson created Skunk Works, a secret division where rules were few, imagination was free, and engineers were given carte blanche to do the impossible. The name came from a running joke about the stinky factory they worked in. But that small, hidden lab would become the birthplace of some of the most iconic aircraft in history. In that tiny space, Lockheed engineers created machines that could fly higher than anyone else, faster than anyone else, and even evade radar. The world didn't know it yet, but this was where American air dominance was quietly being forged, in wood, metal, glue, and sheer determination.
By the 1950s, the Cold War was heating up. The world had split in two, and the United States needed eyes in the sky. Eyes that could see deep into enemy territory without getting shot down. Enter Skunk Works, Lockheed's secretive playground for genius engineers and fearless pilots. The first star of this era was the U-2 spy plane. Picture this, a sleek, almost fragile-looking aircraft designed to soar above 70,000 feet, far beyond the reach of Soviet missiles. Every detail was obsessively engineered. Weight mattered. Even a paperclip was too heavy if it didn't serve a purpose. The pilots, they wore pressure suits like astronauts because flying that high was almost like being in space. 1960 became a headline year. Gary Powers, a U-2 pilot, was shot down over the Soviet Union. The world gasped. America held its breath. The U-2 program had been top secret, and suddenly the globe knew about it. It was embarrassing, yes, but it also proved one thing. Lockheed could make planes the world had never seen before, and Americans began to realize just how crucial air superiority and intelligence could be. Then came the SR-71 Blackbird, the crown jewel of Skunk Works. Designed to outrun missiles rather than dodge them, the Blackbird could cruise at over Mach 3 at altitudes that made even the clouds seem like they were on the ground. Imagine a long, sharp bird of prey, black as night, streaking across the sky like it was untouchable. Its titanium frame could withstand temperatures that would melt ordinary aircraft. Every mission was a ballet of speed, precision, and sheer American engineering bravado. The Blackbird wasn't just a plane, it was a statement. While the USSR was busy building defenses, Lockheed had already leapt decades ahead. Pilots called it a dream until they realized it was almost terrifying. Flying at 3 times the speed of sound wasn't just fast, it was like riding lightning with a machine. One slip and you were history. But every mission completed meant vital intelligence for America and a secret weapon that no one else could touch. Skunk Works became the stuff of legends. A handful of engineers, working in secret, made planes that seemed to belong in science fiction. And yet, these were real flying marvels, invisible to radar, faster than bullets, and capable of going places no one else could go. Americans didn't always know the names behind these projects, but they knew the planes themselves were proof of American ingenuity and daring. By the late 1960s, Lockheed was more than a company. It was a symbol of what the United States could do when risk, talent, and determination came together. And the story was just getting started.
By the late 1970s, Lockheed was ready to push the limits even further. The Cold War wasn't just about speed anymore, it was about invisibility. Enter the F-117 Nighthawk, the first operational stealth fighter in history. Picture this, a jet designed not to outrun missiles, but to disappear from radar screens like a ghost. Engineers at Skunk Works had to invent almost everything from scratch. Traditional aerodynamics tossed aside. Every angle, every surface, every material was meticulously calculated to scatter radar signals. The secrecy around the F-117 was extreme. Pilots trained at night on remote bases, engineers worked in windowless hangars, and even within Lockheed, only a handful of people knew the full scope of the project. Rumors swirled. Some called it the invisible jet, others swore it was impossible to build. Yet, when the F-117 finally took off, it changed the game forever. Its first combat missions in 1989 during Operation Just Cause in Panama and later in the Gulf War cemented its reputation. The F-117 could slip into enemy territory, strike critical targets, and leave before anyone knew it was there. For the pilots, it wasn't just flying. It was a form of modern-day wizardry. Invisible, unstoppable, precise, a perfect symbol of American technological dominance. Skunk Works wasn't just making aircraft, it was rewriting the rules of warfare. This tiny, secretive division at Lockheed became the gold standard for innovation under pressure. Engineers worked on prototypes that often seemed more like science fiction than reality. They solved problems no one else dared to touch. Heat signatures, radar deflection, materials that could survive extreme stresses. Every failure was dissected, learned from, and turned into a stepping stone towards something extraordinary. And while the world marveled at Lockheed's invisible jets, the company was quietly expanding its reach. Mergers, acquisitions, and government contracts made Lockheed Martin the aerospace and defense powerhouse it is today. But every new innovation carried the DNA of that first garage in Santa Barbara: ingenuity, risk, and a little bit of American audacity.
Today, Lockheed Martin isn't just an aerospace company, it's a symbol of American ingenuity, ambition, and technological daring. From the humble garage in Santa Barbara to skyscraping government contracts, the company continues to push boundaries that most people can barely imagine. The legacy of Skunk Works lives on. Modern projects aren't just about jets, they're about hypersonic missiles, advanced satellites, and space exploration technologies. Programs like the F-35 Lightning II represent the culmination of decades of innovation, stealth, agility, and adaptability in one deadly package. Every F-35 that takes off is a reminder that the United States still leads the world in military aviation. Lockheed Martin has also set its sights beyond the atmosphere. Space is no longer a distant dream. Satellites for communication, Earth observation, and national security are launched regularly, keeping America connected, informed, and prepared. Engineers in these programs worked with the same audacity that Kelly Johnson and his team had in the 1940s, solving problems that seem impossible, often under extreme secrecy. Hypersonics is the next frontier. Lockheed Martin is building aircraft and weapons that can travel 5 times the speed of sound, turning science fiction into reality. Imagine a missile or plane that can cross continents faster than anything previously possible. For the engineers, it's a puzzle. For the country, it's a strategic advantage. And for the rest of the world, it's awe-inspiring. But what really makes Lockheed Martin legendary isn't just the tech, it's the people behind it. Pilots, engineers, mechanics, and designers who take risks daily. Every prototype tested, every problem solved, every aircraft flown carries the spirit of those 2 brothers who nailed plywood together in the garage in California in 1912. It's human persistence, ingenuity, and courage wrapped in aluminum, titanium, and cutting-edge alloys. Lockheed Martin also touches everyday life, often invisibly. GPS satellites, radar systems, and space communication tools, Americans rely on them daily, often without even realizing it. In many ways, the company has become as foundational to modern America as highways, electricity, or the internet. When Americans think of air power, space exploration, or national security, Lockheed Martin is there, quietly shaping the skies and beyond. It's a story of innovation, daring, and unrelenting pursuit of the impossible. From a small garage to hypersonic jets, from wooden seaplanes to satellites orbiting the Earth, the company has proved time and again that American audacity knows no bounds. So, the next time you see a fighter jet streak across the sky or read about a satellite mapping the globe, remember this. It all started with 2 brothers, a handful of nails, some plywood, and a dream. And every flight, every launch, every breakthrough is a testament to what Americans can achieve when imagination meets determination. Lockheed Martin isn't just building machines, it's crafting legends.